Oh, did you hear this? Listen. This episode is not brought to you by Diet Coke, but just know that I do have a problem. It's not a problem. I just love a good Diet Coke over some ice in a wine glass. It breathes. It gets to get some nice legs on it. I love a good glass of wine too, obviously, but that's for like once the red light ain't on, you know? While the red light is on, Diet Coke me.
I got to ask you a question.
What's up?
Is congratulations in order?
It is in order. Congratulations is in order. Oh my God. Can I tell you how happy I am that like the cat's out of the bag? I don't like holding on to secrets. I not that it's even just like a secret, but it's like, you know, you do got to keep, you know, shit under wraps for a second. So it's nice to just like have it out there. It's real. There's that other part of it too. And I think that kind of comes from like the years of like doing jobs and like having the heartache of like, oh, it's not going to happen, or I didn't book this job, or the audition went bad or whatever. I know that's obviously not the case with this, but it feels like if you say something out loud, you're going to like curse it or something, or like loose lips sink ships or something. I don't know.
Totally. I'm the same way. It's like, nope, don't say it. I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels very weird. So, you know, I had a pretty tight circle of people that I had told. Anyways, yeah, it's out there and I'm like so excited. I'm so excited to be back in the world of professional wrestling. And not that it feels like it does feel like I left in the sense of like being at the shows, working at the shows, being around the ring, shooting the shit with everybody, seeing what the creative looks like, all that stuff. Like, I love that aspect. And, you know, in the last 2.5 years with us doing this show, and of course, guys, the show still goes on just as usual. This, you know, me joining AEW does not affect the sessions at all. I mean, other than getting like more great guests, but which actually, you know, even to give a little nod about that is like AEW has always been so great to us for booking guests as is. So it's already been an easy process. But yeah, I just, you know, it feels so cool to just be back in this world. Like, yeah, we've been able to be here and doing these interviews and you're still hanging out with people. It's through Zoom and you're having different conversations than you would have backstage. We're not talking too much wrestling. But now to be like back in it, like, God, I do miss it. I have missed it. And, you know, for me too, like, you know, obviously, shit, we watch so much wrestling in this house. We talk so much wrestling in this house. And it was always sort of like an odd, displaced sort of feeling anytime I went to shows with Jon, because I'm always used to like being at the shows, but working and being useful and contributing. So being there for the duration of Jon being at AEW and not doing that and just like being there, being like Jon's wife, and I'm just like hanging out and I'll pop through catering and grab a bite, and yeah, it's just a different feeling kind of going there as a guest as opposed to now being like, oh my God, yay, cool, I go here now.
Right. So, all right, let's do this because I want to back up a little bit. Let's back up. First off, folks, beep. If you guys did not know when we were talking about when Renee was in a technical closet and what she was doing there.
The kayfabery.
Yeah, I think we did a pretty damn good job, to be honest.
I agree.
I think we did a good job. But let's go back a little bit. I want to go back to the 2 years prior. So you leave WWE, right? And we don't have to cover that ground. That ground's already been covered. You said your piece. Creatively burnt out, wanted to do a little bit more, decided to step out, venture.
I just felt like I had done everything there that I could possibly do. And, you know, I think even too, like looking back at my time in WWE, and I just would like to like reiterate as well, because I feel like it can get very muddy in these conversations because people become very territorial about WWE versus AEW and all that. I want nothing to do with any of that. I love so many people at both companies. WWE was so great to me for years. Of course, yeah, shit, I could have my gripes about things, but who couldn't about any job?
Of course.
They gave me such a great platform, and I really did have a great time there. And obviously, this opportunity now with AEW would not be afforded to me had I not had the reputation and career that I was able to have in WWE.
Right. So you leave and you go off on your own, right? And this is the journey that you've been on, and
Here
you've been
she
crushing
goes,
it.
forging her own path. Miss
You really-
Americana coming in hot.
But let's be honest
Canadiana.
though. Like, let's be honest though. You really have. Like in the short amount of time that you decided to bet on yourself, because
Oof.
it's very, very easy to stay at a company that will pay you the bag,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
But you decided to go, no, 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 no.
Very scary when that money stops coming in too. Let me just put that out there.
Oh, I
That's a
remember.
little bit of a gulp.
I remember my
Like, oh
first.
my God, I left this job. Oh, wait, they're going to stop paying me when I leave? Oh, shit. Okay.
Oh, trust me, my asshole got real tight that first time that those WWE checks stopped coming in, babe. I was like,
Oh, my God.
was like,
I know.
oh, I can't buy shoes for a couple of months.
I know. Pump the brakes for a second.
I know, but you've done what you've done. This podcast has been number one in several different spaces several times. You've interviewed so far the biggest, the best, and the brightest, a lot of up-and-comers as well, but also you have maneuvered the show into the annals of pop culture now, where you interviewed other people as well. So you showed that you have a extremely versatile reach, where you do everything, so much so that now you're working with the Cincinnati Bengals.
You saw that one coming, right?
Oh, I did. I mean, you could just listen. You could just tell when. And the one thing I like about you, and this is not a kiss Renee's ass episode, even though we could.
You know what? Let's make it
You
that.
want to kiss?
Can we?
Let's do
I'm
it.
just kidding. I'm just
So,
kidding, obviously.
pucker up, buttercups. Renee wants
My
your love on
lip
social
chap
media.
is on. Let's go. Let's smooch
no.
it out.
But in all honesty, the stuff that you've been able to do, you really did fortify that I can hang outside of doing whatever it is that I was doing with WWE, right? And it just goes into the fact that, you know what, they need somebody like you. They need your professionalism. They need your candor. They need your wit. They need your charisma. You know, now you'll get into it, but like, I don't know what you're doing there. Is it an on-camera role? Is it a producer's role? Is it a mixture of both? Like, do you know what you're doing there, or did you just sign to do some like on-camera segments to go off from that? And what was your decision to go back and do it, besides you and Jon watching copious amounts of professional wrestling and you missing professional wrestling? What was the thing to bring you back into professional wrestling, because you did carve your own path and now you do have your own lane? So
Sure, yeah. So, I think for me is like, it's a really funny moment right now where I feel like over the past 2.5 years, I planted a lot of seeds. And while you're planting those seeds, you're watering them. Are they growing? Is the thing doing what I want it to be doing? Oh God, did I overwater something? Shit, this thing's dried out, blah, 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 all those different things. That now I really feel like I'm at a point where they're sprouting. Some things are really coming out of the ground. And I think that's a reminder to myself, to anybody listening to this, that like, when I left WWE, it wasn't that instant, like, cool, I'm doing this and I'm doing this. I didn't really have any like announcements. I wasn't, I was doing my own thing and kind of grinding away, but it's not like I was like, I'm joining Good Morning America or like something like that, like I was home. I just had a baby. That was like a whole ordeal. Obviously, like, you're having a kid, you're pregnant for 9 months, you figure out being a mom for the first time while also carving your own path and trying to figure all that stuff out. So there's definitely like those ups and those downs, and it's not that instant gratification. And I would be remiss to not say that there weren't times that I didn't think like, oh my God, I feel like I am batting my head against the wall. I am barking up the wrong trees. Should I just be like calling it for now and like just hang at home with my kid? And like, no shade to that at all. Like, that's a beautiful option. And honestly, when I was looking at those options for me, I was like, I love spending time with my kid. How lucky would I be to be a mom that can spend that much time with her daughter? And I still do get to spend a lot of time with my daughter. So it's not like, of course I have these jobs that will take me away a little bit more as we figure out, traveling with a kid and all those things that we have not figured out yet. We'll put a pin in that one for the time being. We're going to sort that out as we go. But yeah, I think it's those ups and those downs, and now being able to see like, okay, cool. This, to have the podcast be doing what it's doing, working with really great people at the Volume, working with Colin, to the fact that he wanted to bring us on so early on to us starting this podcast, like that to me was like certainly a pat on the back, testament to what we're doing.
8 episods in.
Yeah.
Episodes in.
Oh my God. To see like Colin Cowards in my DMs being like, cool show. I was like, excuse me, sir? What? Great.
Yeah.
So to like have that, and now to like have like this opportunity with the Bengals, like that was something like coming from the world of wrestling and being known for just doing wrestling. It's really hard to break out of that mold. And it's not a mold that I wanted to just like shake off and be like, I don't do wrestling, I don't talk wrestling. That was not what I was ever trying to do. But as you are trying to get into other spotlights and into other lanes, it can be a little bit difficult to sort of break out of that corner that you've been kind of painted in. So to have this opportunity at the Bengals and to have like my own series with them, get my foot in the door, talk to some other athletes. And, of course, football players are different than professional wrestlers, but an athlete is an athlete is an athlete. Everyone's working hard. Everyone has different circumstances and all of those things. So for me to be able to like start a series with them, Renee all day, baby. So to have that happen, and now this opportunity with AEW. And yeah, I mean, I guess going back to your question, which has now taken me approximately 35 minutes to get to answer, is that, it's missing being around professional wrestling. It's missing that TV aspect of doing things. I love that I get to work from home. I love that I can pop upstairs, turn on the microphone, turn on the camera, do the podcast. I was doing hits for the NHL Network, all from right here as well. Like I lived a really great life of being able to work from home while we were all stuck in COVID, and that's just how everyone was existing. To being like, yeah, I miss that. I miss the crowds. I miss the lights. I miss the like outfits and the aspect of like putting on like an actual show. I'm ready to get out of my sweatpants is what I'm saying,
Listen, I think there's a big difference in doing what we do and then when it is on.
Yes.
There is a different
Yes.
type of thrill and there's a different type of excitement, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I was privy for a little while to be during like the whole pomp and circumstance of a live production like that. And, I understand what it's like when you're there. It's a lot of excitement. It's a lot of moving parts. You're a part of that fixture and you're a part of that ever spinning cog. And I think it's cool. I'm very excited to see what it is that you will do. So
I'm
how
gonna
did
fight someone.
I would love
I'm
to
just
actually.
kidding.
It might be that time, to
Are you
finally.
kidding me? At 37, all of a sudden I'm gonna lace up some boots. Have you gone mad?
DDP was damn near almost
Actually,
in his
you know
40s.
what? That's a really strong point.
Listen, you slapped the Miz. You could.
I
You could do it.
grazed the Miz.
Okay, we grazed the Miz. Maybe now, just saying, maybe you put MJF in a Kimura. Just saying.
Oh, wow.
Maybe a heel hook.
Wow. Okay, we're going for submissions.
I think you're a scrappy fighter. I think you bring it in and you hook that heel and.
Oh my gosh.
So how did the conversation start? Like, was it one of those things where, and you've never been staunchly against, no, I'm not doing this. Like, that's never you. One of the things that I love doing with you is the show is your openness to doing anything and interviewing almost anybody that piques your interest because, again, you're a conversationalist and you like conversation.
We don't really get anywhere from saying no. That's something that I've really learned over the time is like, you never know, like, God, we've done episodes with people that I'm like, I don't really know anything about this person. So, when we're like getting ready to do it or like, what's this person's background? What are we getting into? But then like those sometimes end up being like my favorite episodes when you're just like listening to somebody and learning and like all ears, all eyes. Like I love that aspect. And it's funny. I feel like I say that to people all the time. It's like that. I feel like that's kind of what my career has been, is saying yes to opportunities and making the most of them. I've never had this like clear cut, I'm going to do this one thing. Like, yeah, I've got ideas and I've got goals and I've got things that I want to do for sure. But I think a lot of those they like break off from the ideas of things that I've already said yes to, if that makes sense.
So how did the conversation like get broached, did Tony come up to you one day and was like, "Hey, this is what we're thinking. Would you like to do this?" Like, how did that convo start?
So it's kind of funny because as much as I had been around a lot, I really never talked to Tony about coming into AEW. And a lot of it was this is probably going to sound bad, and I'm sure people are going to take this out of context, but honestly a lot of it was talking to Jon, of being like, man, like I want to get back into, I want to be back in the wrestling world. I miss being around it. I miss doing stuff. And, you know, as he's like thinking about like what the shows look like and his role on the shows and all that, like most of our conversations were internally between Jon and I, about figuring out like, yeah, I want to do something. I want to come back. I don't know what that conversation is. How are we going to go about that kind of thing? And him and Tony are obviously very close. They spend tons of time talking about things. So I think it was more so like them talking about it, because I don't know if it was like, I think a lot of people just thought that I was sort of like done with wrestling to a degree. And maybe they didn't want to like ask me to do something they thought that I didn't want to do, or they didn't want to step on Jon's toes, or any of those things. Like it could have been, and those are all very real things that could have been. But yeah, I think like it was just the timing of everything as well. You know, I think for me trying to like, I just want to get in there and like, I just want to work, you know, like I want to be there as a broadcaster, as a personality. I want to be able to help other people if they want help or need help on things. Like I want to be an ear for people in any way that I can. Yeah, just kind of use, you know, my 8 years experience having worked in WWE to seeing how I can sort of help in AEW now.
Right. And not to talk out of school, because this is not what we're about, but you can tell that they're on air, like interview people, like they need help. They need some mentoring a little bit. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
here's what I'll say though too, is like I always think that the interviewer role in professional wrestling has been a very, God, what is like the word? I don't want to say like a misunderstood or undervalued position. I guess undervalued might be the word.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they're supposed to be invisible, so to speak, in the sense of like the way that a referee is. You're not there, you're not selling tickets, you're not the big character. People aren't coming to see you. So, you know, and that's always been like the vibe of like, don't say anything, don't react to anything. And then you end up with people that do kind of end up being a mic stand. That's always been how it has been. And I had to fight that my whole time in WWE, of like trying to have subtle reactions to things, trying to get my personality out there more. And I think being able to achieve that over my time being there. But I think, you know, often the role of being an interviewer in a pro wrestling space can be a little bit of a funny, it's very odd waters to navigate sometimes, in terms of how much personality are we doing, how much of ourselves are we bringing forward, how can we make the talent better, how can we help the wrestlers better, how do we give them that spotlight during a promo, during an interview. And this is going to be a different situation with AEW as well, because, you know, my time with WWE was very much so like, here's the interview, here's the script, this is what we're going to do. And that's not how AEW operates. So that's exciting for me, given the time that we've had doing this show, me doing interviews over the past however long, is now I get to like actually interview people, you know? If that makes sense. And not that I was reading scripts before and I enjoy doing that, but this is a different, like, actually interviewing people about things.
right. Like they would hand you the script. We'll just say this. Okay. My guest right now, Braun Strowman.
Yeah. No, it's this. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my guest at this time, the monster among men, Braun Strowman. Braun, tonight you're going to be facing the Beast Brock Lesnar, and how do you think you're going to overcome these odds? Like, that's how it is. And like, it's fine, because you're just, you know, you're passing the baton. You're giving the guy the moment to say what he needs to say. And then
That was smooth, by the way.
Yeah, duh.
Like
Been there, done that.
So yeah, I like the fact that you can play with multiple like colors now when you're painting this broader picture, right? And
Yeah, and I honestly I don't even really know what that looks like yet, and I need to be cognizant of that because I think it could be very easy to just go, "Oh, I'm just going to do the Renee Young thing again," but that's not what I'm doing here. You
well,
know?
here, and this is the funny part about it too, right? When you are socially conditioned in the world of professional wrestling, specifically WWE, right? Because if you read like Twitter or like how people review the shows, everybody assumes because WWE's been around longer and they've been doing TV a specific way, every single wrestling company has to like be the WWE broadcast model, right?
Right.
So you're socially conditioned already to assume that this person, not Renee Paquette, Renee Young, she's going to emulate this. So now,
Yeah.
like, got her there. Now she's going to do the same thing here. Well, that's not the ethos of that company.
That's also not how a person grows.
Right.
If I wanted to continue to do that, I could have continued to do that, more or less. Where now it is a different thing where it's like, first of all, and this is like it's probably such a small thing to anybody else, but it really means a lot to me now to like be on camera represented as Renee Paquette and to have my actual name out there is like it's huge. It's so crazy. Yeah, it is really cool. I didn't even realize like during my time as my name being Renee Young, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like that's the name I go by now. Fine, whatever. But now to be like back as Renee Paquette and like really have that as a stamp it means a lot to me. It's really cool.
It takes a lot of work to not be the thing that you're used to people calling you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and John had to go through with it. Like you had to go through with it. I mean, a ton of other professional wrestlers had to do it as well. Where it's like you have to shake off like that other name and go back to the thing that you want to be called or you want to be referred to as. I mean, there's some people still that call him Dean.
Oh my God, of course.
And
that's just the way it goes in wrestling anyways, where like, it's funny. Him and I can walk down the street and for like every like 5 people that yell out the window, Mox, we love you, Mox. There's like one person's like, I love Dean Ambrose. So like it still happens, it is what it is.
You have, and again, you and Saraya and like, you've had these like years of experience. WWE ages you in dog years.
Oh my God, does it ever? That's a really good line. I like that.
So for you to come in, you're going to have a completely different like scope of thinking where somebody that's in it already is already in the AEW system might not look at it from a different set of peepers. And you might come in and say, hey, here's a crazy idea. Mm-hmm. Why don't you do it like this? I know you've been so fixated on it like this. Why don't you try saying something like this?
Yeah.
And then like you're giving them a fresh option. So I think that's dope. So you had the
I think that's like a really cool time too. Is like that is the thing. Is like I think giving people different ways to think about things or look at things, and especially with AEW where there are lots of wrestlers that have had tons of experience, but it's different than having like television experience as well. Right. It's one thing to do a show and have matches, but I think when you're getting into like that, not that I'm going to tell a wrestler how to like wrestle on TV. Obviously, I don't know anything about that, but like just in terms of like, promos and all that stuff, camera awareness, all those things.
Well, again, just to circle back, because you said initially the conversations were with John, and then John and Tony probably had a discussion about it, and then Tony probably had a discussion with you about it.
It all happened really fast. Like, it literally happened so fast where, like, all of a sudden, like, John and I have been talking about it, and then, like, yeah, it felt like the next day my manager is calling me being like, oh, yeah, they're reaching out. I'm getting the contracts coming through. I was like, wow, that was, like, a real quick turnaround. Holy shit.
Yeah. So did you initially, what did he say with you? Like, what was his like words of assurance? What was like, not even the creative rollout, but what did he tell you? Was there any like concerns or fears on your part to go from one company to the next company? Like, what was that? Did you have any trepidation? Like, how was he talking to you like during the process? Because interviewing him and just speaking to him in passing is a completely different beast as to now he's going to be your employer. So like, how did that conversation go?
So, you mean the conversation I had with John?
No, because Tony.
The conversation I had with Tony.
Yeah. I got some John questions I'm going to ask after that. So.
So it's funny because during all of this, I've not even talked to Tony all that much about it, just because there's not really been much that we need to talk about until now I'm there. You know, I think it's like the lead up to is kind of like, cool, come in. He knows my skill set. He knows what I'm bringing to the table. So I think it's more of a, let's get you in here. Let's just start working. And, I think we like figure it out as we go. Cause yeah, I mean, he knows what I bring to the table in terms of, you know, being on camera, you know, my years of working in this world and all of that to the stuff that I've been able to do outside of wrestling. So yeah, I think it's a figure it out as we go kind of situation. But and that sounds like so vague, but I just think it's not like I'm main eventing anything, you know. It's like I'm going to be out there conducting interviews and like being a personality for them. So I think as those opportunities come up and we know that that's the narrative in which some of the storytelling is going to be told, I can come in and help out there.
But it's also just nice to see some more women on TV.
Of course. I mean, yeah, having more women on television is always great. And, you know, having people in a great position to succeed when having that camera time is also incredibly important. So, yeah, I just think it's a really cool time. And especially with Saraya just going there as well. I mean, her and I have obviously, you know, I knew she was going there. She's known that I'm going there as well. And it all just happened like right at the same time. So it's been really cool for her and I to be able to lean on each other throughout this whole process too.
So did you officially sign when we were at Arthur Ashe, or did you, or no?
No.
Okay.
No, it's, yeah. Listen, contracts and negotiations and all these things take much longer than they ever need to, but yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So would you, here's a question. Would you ever do commentary again?
No. Well, I shouldn't say no.
That was quick.
I shouldn't say no, but I also feel like anyone that just heard you say that probably had the same reaction as me, is like, no thanks. We don't need that. We don't want that. And that's always how I felt about it, which is why I always feel like I have that really quick knee-jerk reaction, because I feel like people had such a negative reaction to it. And it was, you know, it wasn't the thing that I wanted it to be. And could it be different in different circumstances? And we all know what those circumstances are. Could it be different? Possibly, because honestly, when I did commentary at NXT, I did have a good time and I did enjoy doing that. So maybe, but I don't know that that's the thing that I love doing. Like if the opportunity made sense and it was something that everyone was on the same page about, like maybe, but I just don't see that being what I want to do. I don't know. I don't love, like, I like doing the TV stuff. I like doing the interviews. I like all of that stuff. I think like just being the voice during the entire show is just not really my thing.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, being like the intrepid narrator for certain things does get real
I'm not a
taxing.
sound biter either. I've learned that real quick. Not a sound biter.
I mean, you could throw out some doozies once in a while, but like you really gotta, like, you know, be on the nose all the time when you're doing things like that. But it was a question that I had to ask because they do have properties. You know, they have Dark Elevation and they have Dark, and they have Rampage.
Maybe me and Big Show can work together. What about that?
I think that would be a real hoot and or holler.
Sorry, I meant Paul White.
You know, yeah, you got to get used to say. Could you imagine you said that live on TV one day? I'm with
Yeah,
the Big
I could
Show.
imagine that actually.
Eeks.
Big time.
You really drank that soda really quick too, by the way. Like, I'm shocked.
No, I didn't. We're 30 minutes into this, and I still have some left.
I'm shocked you didn't burp yet.
Have I not? I actually
No.
have a little bit left. So
Important.
this isn't even a full Diet Coke. There we go. That's
go.
the end of it. After 30 minutes, it's not bad.
No, it's not.
A
It's
little
good.
light sip.
Yeah,
Gotta,
little
wet the whistle.
I know.
Gotta wet the whistle. So yeah, the whole thing's really, really cool. And of course, for me to be able to get out there and be a part of the show in Toronto was a big thing. To be able to be with that hometown crowd. I mean, honestly, I was just pumped when I saw that AEW had booked Canada. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so great. Like, I would always just look at John's schedule and be like, what shows can I piggyback on? Like, what can we like stay and make a little trip out of and do whatever.
Right.
So of course, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, I've been like dying to go home. I've been dying to go to Canada. So of course, as all these conversations started to happen, it just made sense. We're like, let's just do it at Toronto.
So the one thing I'm looking forward to, and I guess this is the John portion of the whole thing, and
Johnny.
well, it's also too. It's kind of not difficult, but sometimes it's tough to not mention the elephant in the room at times, because like your husband is a large personality within this world, right?
Yeah.
But you are also as equally as large.
I wouldn't say I'm equally as large, but
Well,
I'm in my own lane. I've got my own lane, and it's cool and it's good.
Like, here's why I say you're equal, because it's like, and I look at equal as not in terms of like the resumes are different, but Renee, you have close to almost 4 million people collectively on social media following.
That doesn't mean anything.
No, it does, because they have to give a shit about you, not necessarily the man you're married to. They don't got to necessarily give a shit about the place in which you worked for 8 years. They have to give a shit about you. And I don't know any other on-air host outside of Mean Gene that could command.
God rest that sweet man's soul. Do you know how often I think about Mean Gene?
He was the best.
I would like to have a quick little moment here about Mean Gene, because it's so funny. I went and got my nails done today, and every time I go to my nail salon, I pass a Capitol Grill, and I cannot pass a Capitol Grill without thinking about Mean Gene Okerlund. So every time I pass it, I just think of him and I wrapping up doing a show in Stamford. We would go to the Capitol Grill. We'd throw back some cocktails. We'd eat some truffle fries. He would have his steak tartare. And he was just the most exceptional human being. So anytime somebody even mentions my name in the same breath as his will always be like the coolest thing. And like from a talent perspective, of course, but like him as a human being, chef's kiss.
I mean, I don't think you get it better than him. He was the voice of my childhood and into my teens when he was in WCW. So it's like,
should I do a hotline? Maybe I should do a hotline.
Could you imagine that in this day and age?
In like honor of it.
You should be like, God, you come on the AEW podium and call me at 1-900-909-9800. And it's just like,
oh my God, guys, maybe I should do that for real.
I think you should. But why I say that,
Okay.
but why I say that is because it's like, you both had your own career path, and without ever saying it to say it in WWE, they allowed you guys to be different and never really put you guys together. So what I think is now incredibly cool about it is, because you both have these large personalities and you both have these big resumes, I think it would finally be cool to address it as you actually do like one of the segments, and it's your husband, and you either it's a little flirty or it's just something cute, or you keep it business professional, but it's still nice to see that there's going to be hopefully a little bit of a husband and wife dynamic, instead of always keeping it at like that weird arm's length kind of thing.
I just don't know. I don't know about that.
Is he comfortable with that? Are you comfortable with that? Is that something you guys would do?
We've never spoken about it, to be completely honest. It's not something we've spoken about, but the way that I look at it and feel about it, and like without like at the risk of sounding like super cheesy, it's like he has built something so special and so authentic and like great with what he does. Like he is just in such a great groove. He's the best. Like shit, what he's been able to do within his time in AEW, within like the stuff that he does in the indies, the stuff he decides to do, like he is just in like this pocket, and I never want to do anything to distract from that or get my own shit in there with what he's doing. Like I feel like what he's doing, I don't want to be that person that's like, oh, me too, don't forget about me too, that's my husband. Like I think that's obnoxious as all hell. So I don't want to do that. Like if there was a thing, of course, I'm not gonna like pretend that I'm not married to the guy or act like I don't know him or something. Like that's dumb. But I think in terms of like positioning myself or project like making it like an awareness to be like, that's my husband and there's Jon Moxley's wife, like I just don't think anyone needs that.
I mean, I don't think they've ever really assumed or even said, it's Jon Moxley's wife, because, again, you guys have carved out your own lane. And, again, that's why I said, like,
I don't think people like, not that people don't like the idea, but I think like Jon just has such a lone wolf kind of vibe about him, to be like, oh, the like cheery happy girl's his wife. Like, it's just a weird juxtaposition that I don't know that works on camera in that way.
Well, again, but you don't know until you try it and you figure out what you're comfortable with. And both of you are very creative people, so I see something being done in a real creative way. I mean, again, 3.1 million people follow you for a reason, and that's just not, that like nobody, like, you don't get that type of fandom just by, just like regurgitating stuff. So there's like a vested interest in you. Obviously, that we all know there's a vested interest in Jon, because, like, people come out
What
the
a
woodwork.
hunk. What
No,
a
he is
hunk that guy is.
I mean, I
oh
get
my
people,
God.
I get people in my DMs asking me questions about him. I don't even answer them. I don't even answer them. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe he's eating a turkey club sandwich. I don't know.
Probably.
Most likely. But, I think it'll be incredibly cool if that is something that you guys decide to do, because it's never been done before. And, like,
I'll go out there and double leg a bitch. Let's go.
That's what I'm saying. So it's just like, it's one of those things. Did you guys travel together in WWE? Or no, you guys never like rode together.
Yeah, of course.
So nothing really changes. Now the only difference is now you're bringing the kids.
Also, there's nowhere for us to travel to. They do TVs and then you fly back home. So like our travel was definitely the same. But when we were on the road with WWE, of course we would drive, between a pay-per-view to Raw, to SmackDown, whatever.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sometimes
No, I started out driving with Cole and JBL.
Yeah.
And then Jon and I became a hot item, and I was like, guys, I'm out of here.
See you later.
I gotta ditch y'all. And yeah, I mean, when he was on the road, he would travel with different people, and then we would meet up at TV, and off we would go.
All right, good. So I think that's a cool dynamic, but also too, now it's like I speak from personal experience where my parents are up each other's ass constantly, and like they bicker. So it's just
oh, we don't bicker. We're not. I mean, there's definitely times that I'm sure he wants to like bulldog me, but no, I think we've been able to like coexist in the wrestling world, I think, really well, because, like, how annoying would it be? Say we were doing a segment together and I like messed something up, or like, I don't know, I missed my cue, or who knows, anything like that. And then then you've got to talk about it. And then it's like, I think us having our own separate roles, we never step on each other's toes. We both, I think, have like an immense amount of respect for what the other one does, that I just don't think those things really need to intertwine. Again, it's wrestling. If there's ever a moment that it does make sense and something like that does happen, cool. I'm not saying that I'm like against it. I just don't think it's something that ever needs to be forced or like harped on.
No, but I think it would be kind of cool, like how you did it in WWE, where like you'd pop in and you'd give like the little flutter in the eyes or whatever, like, and he'd give like a little wink back and then do what he does that. I mean, we
would do some stuff from time, even towards the end of his time in WWE when I was doing commentary. I mean, I remember like Drew McIntyre laying him out like through our commentary desk, and I'm having to like, obviously I'm going to go and check on him as his wife. So there would be instances like that made, he went through the desk I was just sitting at. Of course, I'm going to like pop up there to check on him. So yeah, I know it'll be really interesting to kind of like figure out how everything works, but, yeah, I'm super, super excited about it. And, of course, to be able to be on the road with Jon and all those things are great.
Well, listen, I think we said everything. Is there anything else that you want to tell us? Do you want to tell us how much you're making? Do you want to tell us like
the terms of my contract?
The terms of your contract. Do you get like, specific M&Ms in the
I've got a really stiff rider. I want yellow M&Ms, peanut and peanut butter only. Sour cream and onion chips only, just the curved ones. I don't want the flat ones.
Little play area for Nora,
Yeah. She's the one with the demands.
Hey, you know what? I think that's really cool too. That you can take the kid and show the kid like this is like, and she's gonna get a little older where it's like, 2 turns into like, 2 to 3 to 4, where it's like now she's gonna like see,
She
oh,
can have
that's
memories
daddy,
of it. Because
that's
it's
mom.
that's one thing too that, yeah, as the thought process of wanting to come back and do these things too is like, I think about it a lot of having a daughter that is watching me and she's going to be around, and I want her to see me working and doing the things that I love to do, and I want her to be around and to see all that stuff. And yeah, you're right. I mean, as she's getting older and she's going to be backstage, and these are going to be the memories that she's going to have, like she's going to start to enter those years where these memories stick in her brain, and she'll always have that with her. So
It's a
that's something that's
very
just like total, it just means like so much to me to be able to have her around to do that stuff.
it's a very cool and different childhood to have. And I think it's real special. You can tell like there's just, listen, her eyes light up when John walks in the room,
Oh
and
my God.
she doesn't
Da
leave
da
your
da 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 da.
she doesn't leave your hip. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
incredibly cool. I can't wait to see when she actually lets and isn't shy of people, where she will start to run around and be with
Yeah.
people. Like I want to see the photos with her and Danhausen. I want like I want to see the cute
Yeah.
stuff, and I think it's cool. And you get to live twice. You get to live your life, but then you get to live her life through her eyes.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's incredibly special. So
It's really cool. I was saying I can't remember who I was having this conversation with, but I was saying like, I can't wait to know what her first memory of wrestling is. Is it going to be at a show? Is it going to be watching John wrestle? Is it going to be, hanging out with Eddie Kingston? Like she loves Eddie, obviously, who doesn't? But, or is it going to be her sitting at home watching like Japanese wrestling with her dad, or who knows what it's going to be, or like is it going to be like sort of like some like random wrestler that she has like a connection with, rather than like some of the legends she's been able to like meet? Like who knows what it's going to be. It's so funny.
all right, so I guess my final question is this, and this is how I'll end it because it's the most important question. What's the wardrobe looking
Oh
like?
my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Don't think I've not been stressing about this. I don't know. Again, like I'm figuring it out. Like, guys, please have a little bit of grace with me, because I live in sweatpants all the time now. I'm always just in sweats. I'm in a hat. I never brush my hair. So I'm like, oh God, how do I put on a cool outfit again? What does that look like? What am I buying? What do I need? Things have changed in the last 2 years. What's the look? What's the vibe? I don't know yet. I truly don't know. And I feel like I'm just going to end up with like way too many boxes of clothes at the house, and I'm going to end up returning like 75% of it. So I don't know. Stay tuned, or like, I don't know, send me like a vision board if you guys have one.
Are we bringing back at least like the jackets with the phrase on
I
them?
never got rid of them. I never got rid of them. Of
Are we
course,
gonna
I
do
love
a
a tassel
pantsuit?
jacket.
And what about
No,
the
I think I'm
pantsuit?
kind of over the pantsuit. I think I've been there and done that. And like, I love them. Don't get me wrong. If I find something great, of course I will throw that into the mix. I don't know. I don't know what the look's going to be. I love a good jumpsuit. I like to mix it up. It'll be a menagerie of it all. It'll all
That's
be
what
out
I'm.
there.
But well, besides seeing what you're going to cook up, I'm very excited to see the outfits and to see what you
Speaking of things that I'm going to cook up, as much as we've announced that I'm working with Cincinnati Bengals doing Renee all day, I am all elite.
All
The podcast is strong and sturdy, and
I'm not
onward
going
she
nowhere.
goes. I still have one more announcement, but I can't announce it yet. So
Man,
everybody
what-
just let your buttholes keep puckering, and
Wow,
we'll
what
drop
an
it soon.
October you're having, man. Let me tell you.
We're going to call it Rocktober. That doesn't sound like Renee.
Natoberfest?
Natoberfest. I like that.
There you go.
Give me a wiener and a beer.
That's it.
Eh?
Let's just go.
Eh?
But honey, I just want to tell you that I am proud of you. I love you. I'm so happy for
Thanks,
everything that you're
bud.
doing, and I will hitch my wagon onto your coattails and just keep on riding the wave, baby.
It's very exciting. A huge thank you to Tony Khan for bringing me on and trusting me and my skill set to contribute to the show. I mean, a show and a company that is still very much so in like its infancy of what the duration of it will be. You know, I think 3 years of doing something is not a lot of time at all. And as you're growing at like the rate that they are, and the talent that is all there at AEW, like, God, I'm just so excited to work with all of these people and to be a part of the broadcasts and to help behind the scenes any way that I can. So yeah, hats off to everybody at AEW, and specifically Mr. Khan.
TK all day.
TK all day.
TK all day. But listen, again, for real, honestly, congratulations on everything you're doing.
Thanks.
It is great to see. I knew the vision when I first saw you, and we'll get into that at a later date. But you sparkle, kid, and that ain't no bullshit.
Thank you.
I love you like a sister, and I'm very happy for you.
Love you, Emilio.
So you can
As we
catch
start crying.
Renee Paquette every Wednesday and Friday.
Bitches.
Subscribe to this podcast. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. We got a lot of cool content coming now. And hey, man, now you're going to get a whole lot more AEW on this channel, brother and sisters. So he, she, them, or they. So just crack it off. All right?